But thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thanks for the chance to be with you this evening. I know that there's no higher aspiration and excitement in a group than to hear an economist at 10:20 in the evening. And I'm sure I won't break the streak. I will be brief. I want to say 3 thank yous and make 1 request. The first thank you is to our Secretary General. First, for gracing us with his presence honoring the Global Compact, and also for his remarkable deftness in how he is handling the most complex challenges in the world. And I would like us to say thank you to him. I can tell you I see it from the inside, and it is phenomenal. And these are not easy times we're living through, and we should feel incredibly fortunate that we have Secretary General Ban Ki-moon helping to steer with remarkable grace and wisdom. The second thank you I would like us to make is to Georg Kell, who has brought us here. The Executive Director of the Global Compact, who has steered this project to, as you've heard, the world's most important, indeed its unique contribution of business to social responsibility in all spheres and to writing, as the Secretary General said, the new chapter of globalization. And Georg, you've done a spectacular job, obviously. The presence here of everybody tonight testifies to that, so thank you very much. The third thank you, very simply, is to all of you. By definition of your being here, you are leaders in changing history. And by virtue of your leadership, we are with the possibility of not only a new chapter of globalization, but achieving some very great and remarkable outcomes. And that brings me to my request. It's not quite a modest request, but it is a realistic request. And that is that I would like you, as the world's business leaders, to take on the challenge and to succeed as you do, of ending extreme poverty in this generation by the year 2025. Joanna said it beautifully for the Millennium Development Goals. They bring us midway to that objective. And we can get all the way to the objective of ending the scourges of extreme poverty, of hunger, and of disease, which will have claimed more than 3,000 lives during the 3 hours of this evening. 3,000 lives of people who were too poor simply to stay alive because of lack of adequate nutrition, vulnerability to the infectious diseases we heard about, and the other scourges of extreme poverty. Now, my favorite definition of an economist is a person that when he or she sees that something works in practice, tries to find out whether it works in theory. Okay? It's not quite as ridiculous as it sounds, though, because I study the practice of what you do, and I think I can add a theorem about it. The practice of what you do has built a global economy of $60 trillion a year, 100-fold increase of wealth since the beginning of the industrial age, advances of life expectancy on average in the world from the mid-20s to 70 to 80 plus in the rich countries, but alas, 45 in tropical Africa, to a food supply which is more than kept up with the 10-fold increase of population since the beginning of the industrial age. That's what you do in practice. Let me say in a nutshell, what you do in theory is you bring technologies to bear to better the quality of life. And the core of ending poverty, very simply, is to enable your technologies to reach those who don't have the benefit of them today. Just as we heard from MTN, just as we heard from Nemet International, the essence of ending poverty is to extend the life-saving technologies to those who do not have it. It's just about as simple as that. When they have it, not only do they stay alive, but they are empowered thereby to be productive enough to be full members of a now booming global economy. The poorest billion are not being lifted by these wins because they're too poor to be part of this. But by enabling your technologies to reach them, they not only stay alive, see a future for their children, but they're able to make that advance now with the rest of the world and to join in this dynamic and science and technology-based age that we live in. The challenge for each of you, then, is the challenge of how to ensure that your technologies, your core competencies, reach that billion plus who do not have the benefit of them now. This morning, I was at the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, TB, and Malaria, an initiative that former Secretary General Kofi Annan launched in 2001. In just 6 years, more than 1 million people have been put on antiretroviral treatment. More than 20 million of the most high-tech, long-lasting insecticide-treated bed nets have been distributed. More than 2 million people who otherwise would have been dead have been put on tuberculosis control. This is rapid scale-up, and it's thanks to many of the pharmaceutical companies in this room that this has been possible, because this is truly, at the essence, the public-private partnership to extend the range of life-saving technologies to those who would die but for the chance to gain access to them through a global fund. What I'm asking from you tonight, as we look from today to 2015, and from 2015 to complete this chapter in history by 2025, is that you think in every creative way you can, and you are the most creative people that think at scale on this planet, how you can enable your technologies to reach those who do not have benefit. If you're operating in the cities of Africa, go to the villages. Take the extra step. If you're operating in the emerging markets in Asia, but you're not in Africa, get to Africa so that the poor have the benefit of your technologies. If you're making corporate philanthropy, which all of you are, think about it as philanthropy for your technologies so that you can educate the world about what those technologies can accomplish. We don't really need your money as companies. We need your expertise, your knowledge, your science, your equipment, your insights, your talents to reach the expertise down to the villages for the people that do not have them. Don't go to the poorest of the poor at the start to make money. You won't, because they have no money. They don't even have enough to stay alive. But what you can do is do what the pharmaceutical industry has so wisely and boldly done with the case of antiretroviral medicines. And that is to say, we operate on a no-profit basis. We operate at cost with our public sector partners. If our technology's cost is here and our patent-protected prices are here, for the poorest of the poor, we make these technologies available at cost. And this has enabled the spread of remarkable technologies that are changing the world. I want to recognize one person here. There are so many heroes in this room, but Dr. Klaus Leisinger, I don't know where you are, Klaus. Where? Yes. Of Novartis, just an example of making the technologies available. First, producing the state-of-the-art medicines for fighting malaria in Africa, getting the pediatric doses through a company effort that is remarkable. And also what is unknown to almost everybody is that Novartis has led the charge on eliminating leprosy from the planet. And we're that close to accomplishing it, and Dr. Leisinger is a hero of that effort. So I want to thank you for that. Next year will mark the midway point of the Millennium Development Goals. Set in 2000 to be reached in 2015, we will have the global midpoint. I ask you to come prepared, to come with the plans that can transform the world. You know why we need to do it. You know that your technologies and your business is there to improve the well-being of the world. You know that your business depends on that social responsibility. You know that our global security depends on this new chapter of globalization. And you know, most importantly, that you are building the future. To my mind, nobody has said it better than President John F. Kennedy did in 1963. The Cuban Missile Crisis was almost the end of the world. President Kennedy had seen how we could end up in the complete abyss. And in 1963, he did everything he could, and he did the most amazing feat of turning from imminent war to the path of peace with the first nuclear partial test ban treaty. And in reaching that, he gave a remarkable speech in June 1963 on peace, where he called on Americans and all the world to think about what we can accomplish. And he said something that I find so important for all of us that I always keep it in mind. He said, for in the final analysis, our most common basic link is that we all live on this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's future. And we are all mortal. Ladies and gentlemen, you are building the future. You have the technology, the finance, the power, the sense of scale. Please reach beyond what you are doing and understand how the fate of the world is in our shared hands. Thank you very much.